Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our second Halloween podcast for October 2024. I am Brian, and with me, as always, chained up to a radiator in our puzzle room, Jason. How you doing there?
Yes, master.
No, it's
I was just kidding. I don't have a puzzle room. It's the basement.
I am chained up, though. Yes,
definitely.
Hello.
How you doing? How's your water dish?
It could use a refill by the morning. I'd appreciate it.
No worries.
With a little chaser. It's always this. I have to tell you that I'm and I've always been like this, but it's really hitting me this year. The melancholia that overtakes me just before Halloween, because I'm still, scary movies and, just into the scene, and the weather's changing a little bit, even out here in LA and stuff. And it seems like most of the world's moved on already. We're done. I was
that Christmas aisle always upsets me, man.
I was at Target on the 14th of October, the 14th, and I saw a manager dude, he was standing next to a display, and he was just putting, it was like a snowman mug, and I looked, and I stopped, and he looked at me, and he said, "Can I help you, sir?" I said, "Oh yeah, I thought maybe someone had made a mistake, and you were taking the mugs down because they put them up too early." He goes, "No." I said, "Okay, so you're putting out Christmas mugs?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "On the 14th of October." Yeah, I know. I go, "Okay, well, I guess Halloween's over then, isn't it?"
Yeah.
And then I
think we've had this discussion before, and I'm still just gonna 100% stick to my guns too. Screw that. Mariah Carey comes out in November, and personally, I don't mind that song, so it's good.
Yeah, just hold off. Hey, little Debbie, with your little Christmas tree cakes. We don't need them in October. Nobody's eating Christmas trees in October.
We get 31 frickin' days of horror movies and candy. Okay.
Yeah.
You get from November 1st to forever.
Yes.
With Christmas. I don't know who we're arguing again.
Mid-January. Well, those people that don't.
Those
mind,
people.
The people that don't mind. That when you suddenly put on a commercial and it's like ding 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 ding, and you're like, oh my god, it's not even the 20th of October.
Yeah.
I'm hearing a Christmas ad. That's I'm getting a little melancholy. So
I got to be honest with you. This has been my most melancholy. I had all these plans for the website and stuff, and I couldn't find the energy. I needed to take a break, and
telling you, man, it's the Christmas blues 2 months before Christmas.
Well, you know what my wife and I did, and this was something I hadn't really put two and two together as to what we were doing, but I decided I'm just going to go rent a cabin in the woods. And she said,
spooky.
Yeah, well, no, I just wanted to be in autumn. I bring the dog, just get around, sit around a campfire, that kind of stuff. Just silence, the Ron Swanson thing. And I rented this cabin, and then my wife said, "You know what? At night, let's bring a bunch of horror movies." And so I brought a bunch of horror movies, and we actually had to buy a television because the cabin didn't have a TV. And it was like this immersive experience being in this spooky cabin. It didn't even have heat. And watching Halloween 3 is not scary. But we watched Troll 2. That's also not scary. Tombs of the Blind Dead. It was a lovely.
That's not scary either. That's not scary.
I love Tombs of. No, but it is at least freaky.
I'm kidding. We watched Porky's. That's not scary. We watched Christmas Story. That's not really scary.
Christmas Story. Well, I don't know why you're going through the Bob Clark oeuvre. But
That's but we didn't watch anything scary at all.
Yeah.
But the cabin.
We watched The Mirror Has Two Faces.
Right. Now that was scary.
Yeah.
That was scary.
Yentl and Glitter.
But we watch scary movies year round. But in October, you just want to go. I'm gonna make sure every night, if I can, I gotta watch a scary movie or two or whatever.
It feels like I guess it feels like you're just like it's all catering to you. There's horror on TV, even though even the TV platforms. schedules have kind of pulled back on that. It used to be all month, and now it's like, yeah, not for the first half of the month. And
Well,
then
they'll do it like I noticed on Disney Plus or some other streamer, I forget what it was. It was like, holiday fun or spooky fun or whatever. And you're like, oh, so they've compiled a list of scary stuff. And then they just sort of like every 6 or 7, they'd slip in kind of a holiday thing, like a Christmas thing. Would be like, whoa, hey, whoa, what are you doing? What happened to the list?
I have an idea too. I think I know how we can make this work. We have to create Hallmark horror movies, like Halloween romance movies, and then I think it'll become like we won't love everyone that comes to the party, but we'll still have a big party. Do you know what I mean?
Instead of making them spooky, but you switch on the Hallmark bit of it, and the monster falls in love, and it becomes like a romantic.
Yeah.
And maybe they end up together. Maybe everyone ends up together at the end, whatever invisible person or wolf person or whatever. And it ends up being a Hallmark-ish romantic thing, but with all the classic monsters.
I'm wondering if Saturday Night Live hasn't already done this. I feel like they have.
No, I don't think that's too good for SNL. I think we came up with something really good.
Sounds like I hope so, because that would be great, and we could become very, very rich. I also have a whole idea of Mother's Day themed romance movies.
Oh, you've lost me there. I don't know what.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And all right. I've got Reba McEntire on speed dial.
You've certainly thought this through more than I have.
Oh yes.
Well, that's good. But we always want to do from the time we kicked off the show back in 72 or whatever it was. We've always tried to do 2 Halloween episodes in October at least.
Yeah. Except of that one time during the 1980 Winter Olympics.
Right. That was hard to get everything
Which was weird because it wasn't in October of 1980, but we still did that.
But we recorded it.
Yeah.
So the first one we did for the 2-part or two halves of October, if you will. The mirror has 2 halves. Was Werewolves, and that was a whiz banger, wasn't it?
This is a real cracker, and what's really funny is that the entire internet was like, "You guys are talking about Stephen King's Silver Bullet."
It was Silver, and as soon as the next day, I was driving. And I don't know what was spinning through my head, and then all of a sudden, Silver Bullet just ran across my my mental view screen. I went, it was Silver Bullet. That's the one from the 80s that, and I wouldn't have, I never would have come up with it on the day.
I don't think I've ever actually seen Silver Bullet.
I think I've seen part of it. I think it's Corey, one of the Coreys. Corey Haim, in a wheelchair, I think, is the main character, and Gary Busey. I don't know if I've ever seen the whole thing either, honestly. But it's one of those movies that you've heard about more in the last 10 years or so. That suddenly, hey, Silver Bullet's a great one too.
Thanks
I meant to visit it. Yeah, I meant to visit it, but that was it. It was Silver Bullets. That was the one. But we did it. We covered a lot of ground. So this one. You're choosing what the topic is with part 2. Tell us what we're doing.
Yes, this episode is about one of my top favorite monsters, even though I really don't think he's a monster. I think he's more of a madman, but he, thanks to Universal kind of bringing all these literary characters into their first MCU, he has joined the monsters. He's the last picked figure, most kids, but we're talking about the Phantom of the Opera, but Phantom of the is quite a genre, and I think this episode should be called Phantom of the Places, because it's based on a Gaston Leroux's 1910 novel, which did have some basis in reality, but of course it's been largely aggrandized and exaggerated. But did you know the Paris Opera House actually does have a cistern under it?
I did know this because I did a deep dive because it was a long time ago when I finally, this is a long time ago, but certainly internet era, when I realized I couldn't remember if I ever saw the much of the Lon Chaney stuff. Maybe it was TCM that ran it or something. Or
I've sat down and watched that a couple of times now.
Okay,
because
so
I
I've
never
seen it
really
since.
had as a kid, and yeah.
Yeah, I think it was a TCM thing in
Yeah.
October when they would do that, and then I kind of did a deep dive on some of the history, but I mean that is the granddaddy, really.
Yeah, and
Story
it's still kind of like the Frankenstein. A lot of people say nothing has surpassed Karloff, and I'm kind of agreeing in that.
Yeah,
I think Chaney's Phantom has been the gold standard, both
yeah,
in look, in design, and in
absolutely.
and in even I don't even know it's so powerful a look. I don't think most people have seen the movie,
Well,
but they know who he was.
I even look at it today, and I think about those stories you hear about like the early days of motion pictures where the first one ever was like a train coming at the camera and the audience screamed
Yeah,
and
yeah,
ran out of
yeah,
the
yeah,
room.
yeah. And the
You know,
kiss.
just,
Yeah.
yeah, and just being in a theater at that time and seeing that face. I mean, it
Oh,
really is a
yeah.
powerful image. Even all these years later, you're just like,
You know
man,
what?
if
I
that face,
still
if that
look at
face was
it
looking in
because
your
of
window today, if that
yeah.
face was looking in your window today at 10 o'clock at night, you would mess your
Dude,
pants.
I went to kindergarten with a kid who kind of looked like that, and I
Oh,
avoided him.
jeez. Oh my
Yeah.
God. He
Yeah, I'm
he
sorry,
had a
Johnny.
he had a receding hairline too. Was he going bald?
Dude just kind of had the kind of turned up nose and the face and the head shape and the
So he had a
yeah,
big
the
head. Was he like
terrible yeah, and
so his head was
yeah,
like a sniper's dream.
and he was kind of a kid prone to tantrums and stuff. So yeah, I
You know why? You
totally
know why he was prone to tantrums? Because everybody kept coming up to him going, "You know who you look like? The Phantom of the Opera." Kids
yeah, and
thinking,
it's like
"I don't
also when
know."
I think of that, that was kindergarten. So I'm 4 years old, and it's like I already know who the Phantom of the
Yeah.
Opera
It's just
is.
like it's like trying to ask like when was the first time you saw those images? I could never
Well,
pinpoint it because it just seemed like these things that were always around.
well, I think
Either
it has a lot to do with the poster ads in comic
yeah,
books.
that's what I was gonna say. The comic book
Yeah,
ads, the poster ads,
yeah,
the my brothers had those. What's that big horror? We've talked about it before, but this one, it was in the early 70s. It was called like horror movies, and it was like a greenish hue to the cover, but it was like a montage, collage of all these faces and
yeah.
black and big
I
hardcover.
actually think I saw that in a movie yesterday.
Ooh,
I was watching a movie, and it's like I was going through Shudder, and there's just all these movies like, oh, let's try that out, and you find out like I'm 20 minutes into it. Like it's like, oh, I definitely did this on a Sunday afternoon.
I tried this one out and walked away.
Yeah, and like everything on Shudder is like I've just taken one bite and
Yeah, there's a
walked
lot of
around.
that. No, but there's a lot of that on Shudder where I'll even watch a trailer and go, nope, not gonna
Yeah,
finish the trailer, not doing it.
yeah. Well, anyway, so I started watching The Deadly Spawn,
Oh,
which
I know
is
this.
I haven't quite found its the sweet spot to it yet.
Yeah, but what
It's
year this is?
competent. It's competent. It's a
Is
little
it is it is it
dull.
Italian? Is it Italian?
No,
Okay. 73? Is it
it's
like 73 or something?
no, I think it's 80 or 83. But
Okay,
one
I
of the
just
things I
saw the.
wanted to say was the kid's bedroom.
Oh,
I love watching movies where the kid's a monster kid and it takes place when I was a kid, like
yeah,
Funhouse and
like Salem's
Creepshow,
Lot. Salem's Lot
Salem's
too.
Lot. Yeah. So this room was no exception. And I was having trouble doing a screen cap of it, but I finally did figure it out. But that book is on the floor. And what I love about it is that there's tons of done post mass. So you just tell the set decorator went out and got monsters. But it's 1983, so this would have been filmed in
83.
82.
Okay, yeah,
There is a Mattel Godzilla on the kid's desk, and you're like, yeah, those were still at retail.
yeah. But that book was like
Oh
a
yeah,
drug. That book was like I can't even calculate how much I spent just looking. I don't even know if I read it. I just looked at the pictures, and then
yeah.
some of them were actually quite graphic. Like for a little
Mm-hmm.
kid to be looking at, and they were all in black and white. But there was one I
You
remember.
ever see that one book that has a huge picture from Doomwatch in it, and it made Doomwatch look like the scariest movie in the world when it is actually not.
I don't. That doesn't ring a bell. But there's
Oh, okay.
one picture. I don't know what movie it's from, where a man is on the ground. Maybe it's 10,000 BC or something. I don't know. I forget. There's a man on the ground and he's getting gored or by a bull, and his leg is like kind of ripped open, and there's a bull in front of him. But you can see even with the black and white photo that the leg's all bloody and torn up. And it was one, so this book I would go through, and every few pages there'd be an image that kind of, ooh, that's a bit much, But that Lon Chaney face on the cover with all the other classic monsters. That font and everything. That's what I think of with
it's an insane. And I want to say this too, because Phantom of the Opera is not only a literary character, but it's also kind of a trope. Like a plot device. It is about, and in the original book, I've never read the actual book, surprisingly, because I'm actually a fan. I've read Frankenstein, I've read Dracula, but not Phantom. The original book, he's a disfigured man who finds his way to the opera, and builds these trap doors and devices, and becomes kind of like he's less of a sympathetic character. And I think that's why Hollywood started that whole he's a disfigured man who was wronged. I think that had a little more play.
It's a sad
character.
Story.
It's
all that stuff is sad. The Larry Talbot is sad, and Karloff is sad, and the Mummy story is sad, and the Phantom has got a sad background. Like, these aren't just vicious creatures.
No, and that's why we're talking about them. If they were just like, that's one of the things. That's one of the things I didn't really like about 80s slashers, is a lot of them, I don't like them. You know what I mean? Like, I didn't see the appeal in them.
Well, you have to kind of like the conceit as it is, and it's like a little bit goes a long way for me, where it's like, those are some great kills. It's like, I don't really. That's not what I want. That's not what I need horror for. But Phantom of the Opera. So Chaney is the gold standard. I mean, that face, that makeup job, that you saw that Mark Gatiss history of horror movies. That 3-part.
Oh yeah, no, and I've actually.
There's a moment in there. There's a moment in there where he goes to the Hollywood Museum, I think, and they have Chaney's original makeup kit.
Yes.
Like this little thing. It looks like a lady's cosmetic thing when you go doo-doo-doo-doo. It's got those little shelves on it and stuff. And there's the materials in there that he used to pull the face back, and the nose and the teeth and everything. And you just think, my God, like what was he using for reference? Like, how did he get there other than a mirror and what his messing with his face, basically?
And how much did that frickin' hurt?
Yeah, that too. I thought, like, God, that had to have killed.
I was watching it maybe 2-3 years ago, but I paused it at the big reveal just to kind of like see if I could figure out how he did it, and I know that you can look up how he did it now, but I just wanted to kind of like look at it.
Yeah.
And God, it just doesn't. It doesn't. No, it's timeless.
It's seamless.
He's just great. Yeah. And it's never going to look goofy. You know what I mean? Like, it's so.
Well, it's
atmospheric. Why
not just do like a scar on the face, or maybe a something on the lip, whatever.
He
turns it up to 11, and it's like, holy crap! Like, that must have.
And that's how small the movie business was back then, right?
I mean, that must have really shook people up in the theater. You know what I mean? Like that reveal must have.
But think about it. Like, think about it. Your star is also your head of makeup,
right?
You know what I mean? Like, your Tom Savini is also acting in this film, which I know has happened. But
it's the appeal.
The scale.
Well, and they sold him that way. They kind of sold Chaney that way, because it was like, you were going to see what he came up with next, kind of. And but there's just so little out there, and don't we always hear every now and then, like, there's a rumor that London After Midnight is somebody found a copy, and it's
it's mostly found on 4chan. I know the film is not a horror film. It's a comedy, I believe. But that bloody look he created is so iconic. I was when Migo was doing stuff with the Chaney estate. They did a couple of figures. They did Phantom of the Opera, and they did Lon Chaney Jr. as a Wolfman from a Mexican film, which I
just want one of Lon
me.
Chaney Jr. I just want Lon Chaney on his own, so I can put him in a little bar, little Migo-sized bar. We can just sit there by himself.
Here's a brush with greatness.
Dim light on him.
I was having breakfast at a Monster Bash. I'm actually going back to Monster Bash this weekend. I should bring that up. I'll be in Pittsburgh if anyone wants to come by and say hi. I was at a breakfast buffet, and I had ketchup on the table, and then when I looked up, it was gone. And there's an elderly couple next to me, and I went, "Oh, can I borrow your ketchup?" And they're like, "Oh, we stole it from you." And I had a laugh, and then I was like, "Oh my God, you're Lon Chaney grandson,
Junior."
Yeah, Ron Chaney. And I've seen Ron Chaney has been in one film. It was not great, but it was just really cool that, like, oh yeah, this guy is like,
you're Ron Chaney, aren't you? Yeah. Now give me the fucking ketchup back.
Yeah, give me my goddamn ketchup. No,
goddamn ketchup.
I would just had a laugh, but I was like, oh my God, I just like this guy, and I know he's an approachable fellow and a nice fellow, keeping his grandfather's memory alive, and it's just like, that's amazing. I haven't. Yeah.
Who knew Ron Chaney liked ketchup? I mean,
look, it's not a great story.
What kind of animal is he? No, but I was hoping as you were telling it, in my brain, I'm going, please bring it round to Lon Chaney somehow. Please bring it round to Lon Chaney.
Oh yeah, no,
Ron Chaney.
Yeah, sorry.
I thought it was going to be like, and the guy had a London After Midnight T-shirt on.
Yeah.
And I wondered, hey, where'd you get that? And that was the end of the story.
And it was covered in the ketchup that he stole.
Ron Chaney coming in at the end.
Yeah,
that's a good story.
Thank you. Thank you for bearing with that story.
You're welcome.
Because, it could have.
I just want to. When are we going to get to the Caves of Androzani and the Phantom homage in that? Or do I have to hold off if we talk
soon?
About
it's not like I have to go on Wikipedia. No, Shara's Jack. I think we're gonna have to go a ways because I think they're.
I couldn't get that name if you paid me, but that was his name, wasn't it? Shara's Jack.
Yes, it was.
Yes,
it was.
No, I'm sorry. I kid. So we got Lon Chaney Jr. Who's next on the roster?
I don't really have much by the way of a timeline, but I think the big adaptation after that would have been Universal when they remade all their they brought back Frankenstein and Dracula. They brought like a new wave of monsters. They remade it with oh my goodness. Please allow me to have a brain fart. I have had a long day.
No, it's okay. Are we talking about the well, I keep thinking of the Hammer one. That design is stuck in my head, the Herbert Lom thing. But there's
I want to get to that because
I'm
not a huge.
Was it Claude? It wasn't Claude Reins. It wasn't. Was it Claude Reins?
It was Claude Reins.
It was
Thank
Claude
you.
Reins. Yeah, it was Claude Reins. He did Invisible Man. He did the second Invisible Man, right? No, the first Invisible Man, and then he did the Phantom, right?
Yeah, I think they were trying to give him franchises
because he was such a sexy beast, Claude Reins. Like the chicks can't get enough of him. Give him a franchise. No, he was wonderful. I love Claude Reins. I love Claude Reins. Okay, so that's the one. So that's the Claude Reins one, and I've seen that once, maybe, probably. I couldn't tell you, good or bad.
Is it not in color? Is it not like the one?
I don't think so. How long was it after his Invisible Man?
It's from 1943. It was one of those later ones.
Black and white. So it was black and white.
Are you sure?
Pretty sure. The color one.
Oh no, it is actually. Nope. I'm right. For God's
sake. In color. In 43.
It's in color. It's a Technicolor. Really? Yeah. I thought that's one of the things. It's not like for me, and I think I speak for a generation. When we think of the Phantom, we think of Chaney. I don't know anyone that's like, oh no.
Have you seen Claude Reins?
Reins is clearly the superior.
He owns it. He's total fire.
Yeah, I think it was more like, I would say it was a popular film, I believe, but it's more
Okay.
along the lines of like more family friendly, a little more,
Yeah, I'm having vague. I don't recall this being in
yeah,
color.
I don't know. I don't know how to put it because I have not watched it in a very long time.
Yeah.
And it's short. It's yeah, I honestly don't know. I'm not a. It's just not my favorite of these films. You know. Uh,
And is it like the half mask thing, or is it a full mask? I forget what that is.
oh,
He's got a cape.
he's got this kind of like half mask, so you can see his mouth. And
Oh yes, okay. You can his hair. You can see his hair.
yeah, yeah, and
He's
I
got a
mean
nice head of hair. Yeah.
that seems to uh, be the copy that Hammer does.
Yes. Now that's the one with Herbert Lom, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And but I'm
You
just
hate
kind of
that one.
going.
Don't you kind of hate that one? Don't you? It's not a
I don't
Hammer.
know if I don't know if I'd ever put like hate into it.
Dislike greatly.
It's just it's a when it's a character you really like and it's an actor you really like. I grew up on Herbert Lom and the Pink Panther series especially.
Oh yeah.
And so like big fan. And I thought, oh, I just remember taping it when I was a teenager and thinking this is gonna rock. And it was yeah, it's basically very similar to the Claude Reins version, um, which I'm not a fan of. And then he basically sacrifices himself for the girl. There's very little like it's boring.
Yeah.
And the
Yeah.
other thing is that Lom is kind of abusive. Like he doesn't have I really like Herbert Lom. Don't get me wrong. But you're not feeling it. You're kind of like he's an ass. I don't know how to explain it. I think if you're going to go that angle, you want her to at least kind of fall in love with him a little bit, or it doesn't have to be a romantic love, but it can be like a familiar love, like
Mhm.
I don't know. There just should be some affection, and you just don't feel it. You understand he likes her, but he kind of treats her like crap, if I recall correctly.
Hmm.
Yeah, I have a lot of mixed feelings about that film, and it's like I love Hammer films, and they were doing that's '62, man. They were kicking ass and
They were
taking
pumping it
names.
out. Yeah, they were
Yeah,
really.
and it's just a miss, and I think again, I'm not being a contrarian here. I think a lot of just from
about about the Herbert Lom Hammer
yeah,
Phantom.
I
No.
don't think it's a super popular with
Mm,
Hammer fans.
I think it's kind of a forgotten one. I think it's
Yeah,
kind of,
okay, yeah.
yeah, no, not at all. I don't think it's in the
Hmm.
top 10. No,
Hmm. Hmm.
no, I
And
don't.
I've watched. I was like watching a mummy movie, and I think Blood from the Mummy's Tomb,
Oh
and
yeah, with what's
that girl
Is it
who's the
Valerie Leone?
hottest woman I've ever seen in my entire life.
Is it Valerie Leone? Is that who it is?
I think so, yeah. And it's
Oh
like, well, I don't
God,
even like that's not even a really good movie, but I'm like,
it's next
I'm,
to the star for her. Let me tell you that.
oh wow, I could just, yeah, she could read a
She,
phone book and I'd be
I
like, oh,
follow her on Twitter. She's got a Twitter account,
what
and
a stunning human being.
she'll
And
post
that's not even,
photos, and you'll be like, you do a double take and go, is that a photo from like the mid '60s? Because it looks, she looks like it could have been a photo shoot from today. There's nothing about it that's very period setting, and she was absolutely gorgeous. But she's
oh
still going.
yeah, and that is just taking in beauty,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah,
There's some good
yeah.
stuff in that one. But anyway, sorry, we won't go on the mummy thing. But so you're watching Blood on the Mummy's, Blood on the Mummy's Tomb.
Yeah, I just watched it, but I'm just saying that like I just not I've had many opportunities to look at the Hammer Phantom of the Opera again. It's just one that like I watched it, didn't like it, and haven't gone back.
Yeah, I think I've probably only seen it once, I think.
And now I want to talk about a travesty that happened in between, and maybe you don't agree, or Man of a Thousand Faces. There is.
You know what? It's so funny that you say that. I want to get your take, because I realized up until a few years ago when I found a used copy at like Amoeba or something, like Region 2, that I'd never seen it.
Yeah.
And I threw it on, and I was like, oh man, this is. I'd heard so much about this. What is going on? But you go ahead.
Okay, the first thing I want to tell you is, and I can't remember where this anecdote comes from, probably Film Facts or Psychotronic, but somebody told this story about how they were on the Universal lot, or whatever studio made Man of a Thousand Faces, and there was an empty theater playing it, like a screening room. And this guy like walked into the room, looked around, and just saw like a cigarette butt in the dark. And that cigarette butt said, "You really whitewashed the bastard, didn't you?" And it's Lon Chaney Jr.
Ooh. Well, because there is when you get to the kid.
The
kid was neglected, or the dad was never around. You get a little bit of that, but obviously not all the detail of however that.
No, it is, and it's what's the word I'm looking for? Schmaltz. It's schmaltz.
It is schmaltz with a capital S. It really is.
No
two ways about it. That is a schmaltzy movie. That is the La Bamba scene. What's wrong, Richie? I don't know. I feel like I might die in a plane crash. What? Everything is sort of.
Except Lou Diamond Phillips looked a bit like Richie Valens.
Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like it's not good casting either. Like
no.
And Cagney was a screen presence. I mean, he really was, especially when he was really cooking.
No, nobody's shitting on his acting, but
it just doesn't seem right. It doesn't seem right for it.
No, he's a good actor, and he put his heart into it. I love he does all the sign language in the film, and he's not phoning this in, but he has a face that no matter what makeup you put on it,
it's
Cagney.
Yeah.
It's monsters. He's no Ron Perlman. He's no what's that wonderful guy that
Doug Jones?
Doug Jones, thank you.
How would I know that? How would I even know that's what you were talking about?
Oh, maybe because Doug Jones is a really nice guy.
No, but it's like I don't know why I pulled that out of my butt.
Because that's a pretty. Who else would I be talking about?
I don't know.
So yeah, no, I do not like the Phantom makeup in that movie. It
all just looks wrong. It all just looks like, I know what you were going for, but it just kind of looks wrong.
You think about it, it is like what, 25 years later? I don't remember when that film got made. And yeah,
it's 50s, right? Late 50s, maybe.
Oh yeah, I think you're right. I think it is the 50s. Yeah, and
that was a tough watch.
Well, I love the legacy that film has, because that showed kids how the sausage was made.
Yes.
And inspired people like Tom Savini, Rick Baker, like that did wonderful things for the industry. But yeah, it's
always mentioned in Famous Monsters. It was always brought up in there, and kind of mythical. But I don't think I ever saw it until about 10 years back. The Phantom is kind of the most. I think you'd have to say that he's one of the most underserved. Like if you put his output up against Werewolves or the Wolfman, or a male that turns into a wolf.
I think stealing his plot is
way down the list, isn't he? Kind of.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's kind of.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
We're only talking about. There's been literally hundreds of Frankenstein type things or Frankenstein adaptations in Wolfman. Phantom is like a dozen.
Except
or more,
if you take like plots of like Scooby Doo's.
Oh yeah.
And, there's just so many stolen phantoms of the places. That's why I was kind of going with that, is it gets stolen so much that Days of Our Lives did it.
Oh yeah. I remember this.
Do you remember that? You remember Stripes, right?
I do remember
You
Stripes.
remember Lighten Up Francis guy?
Oh yeah, and he touch my stuff.
Yeah. That dude became the Phantom on
Days of Our Lives.
Days of Our Lives. They had this guy. My wife was like an ardent fan. I was just one of those people like flicking channels, and like they had a guy on that show that looked like Snake Plissken. He was called Patch, and he was definitely soap opera Snake Plissken.
Yeah, I remember
And
that guy.
I just remember watching it.
Why'd they call him Patch?
Well, I think he skinned his knee, and it was one of those things where I turned the channel and like Snake Plissken's talking to a burned guy in a cloak. I don't know where you get cloak after you get horribly burned, but and I realized they had because I think the popularity at the time in the 80s of the
everything got weird.
The Broadway show.
It also they started doing like doubles and time travel and dwarves coming in.
Do you remember like General Hospital had like a weather machine?
Yeah, I remember General Hospital, like all the spy antics and stuff. Who was the guy? Scorpio or Scorpion or Scorpio?
You know what? I honestly, my sister was dating a hockey player who was on like a minor league team, and those guys like lived and died by soap operas.
They were big.
And those guys would be and they would all just be discussing the weather, like with no, like none of them cared, but they were into it,
Yeah, there wasn't much on. I mean, we watched.
But I remember that plot being stolen. So yeah, the Phantom.
So yeah, the Phantom thing gets, but not the romantic sort of, like I'm saying, the romantic bit with the woman that he's besides the Broadway thing, which I've never seen, but I know some of the songs. But like it doesn't get rolled out as much as the other ones that get remade over.
Oh, absolutely. Well, also because like it isn't quite as, the Frankenstein thing has so many places to go.
Yeah.
And vampires you can put anywhere.
Yeah.
And the same werewolves.
A million.
But Phantom of the Place is sort of a thing. And I just want to kind of go to the one that probably I was a fan of the character prior because I even had the Lincoln Monsters Phantom, and he was like one of my favorites. Phantom of the Paradise, 1974. Really changed my appreciation of film and music and everything like that. It is a very loose, like I think it's more of again an adaptation of the Claude Reins version mixed with Faust.
Yeah, and I don't think I saw that really. I mean, I saw it after Carrie, I'm pretty sure, and I think I saw it late at night on TV somewhere at some point. And
I was a little kid,
but probably in the early 80s. But I didn't quite get what it was.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't until VHS when I would start renting it every now and then that it was, you start associating De Palma with certain movies and things like that. And it was a one-off. I mean, it's such a weird, wonderful movie to make, but it's kind of insane that he made it when he did. And it's it's got so much great stuff in it, so many great songs and characters, and it's not like anything else. It's one of those one-offs.
Yeah, it's also a lovely handshake. If you're a fan and you run into another fan, it's you're friends. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I was at San Diego this year, and I was kind of like sitting on my phone, as you get those lulls, and then I looked up, and there was a guy dressed as the Phantom, Winslow Leach, and I was like, well, you've came to the right table, sir.
Yeah.
It was really cool to just chat with that dude and bond over that wonderful film. I love it.
Oh yeah, no, it's great.
It is something I've bonded with my kids over. I've seen in the theater multiple times. Yeah, it is.
I did see it in the theater. I saw it at the New Beverly a million years ago when I was going all the time. But yeah, and they used to do double features. I mean, they still do double features, I think, but it was always like, two movies for, $4 or $5, whatever it was. I forgot what the other one was. I don't know. Sometimes you could stay for both, and sometimes you just kind of go, let's go to the bar. We're done. But I saw it on the big there. And
the last time I saw it was at the it's a closed theater now, but the Bloor Cinema, which was like a mecca for me as a kid, and I took my buddy Sean Sansom to see it, and it was God, I never bore of it.
No, it's a one-off. It's one of those movies that just nothing else sounds or looks like it. It's a very strange movie for him to have made. De Palma started with more comedic slice of life and comedic stuff in the 60s, like
Hi Mom and stuff.
Hi Mom and Greetings, and then Sisters was 73. Was Sisters 73? And I
think you're close, yeah.
And that's an homage to Hitchcock and just everything you can, all the stuff. But it's a completely
he has a real
film.
Hitchcock.
But it's a completely different film from the next one he decides to make, which is a riffing on the Phantom of the Opera and Faust in a comedic, in your face musical with different genres of music. And something played, for pathos, and some things played for absolute laugh out loud.
It's incredible satire.
Beef is my favorite character, hands down.
Oh,
Beef
well, character. He's no one else's favorite.
I don't know if he is or not. You're only talking about Winslow. If there was a beef doll, if there was like a beef action figure made or a doll, I might go out of my way to get it, because that I knew Garrett Graham. I read books about De Palma and De Niro and things like that, and I'd always see his face and things, and then I never really put it together until VHS. They got a VHS out of Greetings in like the late 80s, and it was like, oh, that's the. And then it just, whenever you'd see his face in all those other movies like Chud and Used Cars, he's the funniest thing almost in Used Cars, I think.
That's funny. I recently watched a bit of Used Cars and saw him in that, and then I was watching Demon Seed. And he's in that. It's a very straight role.
Yeah,
he's often brought in for semi-comedic roles, which he should be.
Yeah,
because he's got a great. Yeah, he's a guy who really, I feel, didn't get. Like, I just feel like somebody should hand him a shopping bag full of money.
Yeah, he was just a character guy that, his timing was impeccable in everything he did.
Yeah.
And I mean, Used Cars should have blown up for him. I mean, I don't think the movie did that well, but it was enough. It did well enough to, get Zemeckis, keep him going basically. And
I actually have been trying to find a copy of Used Cars somewhere, because I've seen it, but I can't remember what the hullabaloo is about it anymore.
It's just one of those weird in between, like it was after 1941, and it was Bob Gale and Zemeckis again writing it. And it's what's weird is that I think Spielberg produced it, which is weird, because you'd think after the disaster of 1941, which is not a terrible film, but it was a disaster financially. So much so that Spielberg, when they finally signed him for Raiders, the studio was like, "You're bringing this thing in under budget and on time, and here's what'll happen if you don't." Like, his name was kind of mud, but it didn't stop him from let's do the Used Cars thing. And then they made it with Zemeckis and Gale. You'd think you'd go, I can't work with you guys ever again. You wrote that script, I made the movie, and it bombed, so I can't work with you. But he kept working with Zemeckis, obviously, to bigger and bigger things. But it's a weird sort of in between, post Animal House, pre Porky's, and all the,
I kind of like those kind of late 70s comedies, because they breathe a little bit.
Yes,
there's
totally
lots of.
Yes,
yeah,
and it's R-rated. It's an R-rated comedy with F-bombs and some nudity.
Yeah,
and things,
but they sometimes stuff goes nowhere, but you're still like, I don't mind.
Yes.
I'm still here.
Yeah.
It's sort of like when, like, you ever watch a Cheech and Chong movie in the last 20 years?
I did. I came across one 2 years back, and it was like, this script must have been 4 pages long.
Yeah, nothing happens.
Nothing happens, And those movies made tens of millions of dollars. They just
and God bless them, but how
do
the
we have a
hell?
script? No, we don't have a script. We've got a title. Cheech and Chong's Nice Dreams. Okay, start shooting on Monday. Go for
You guys, here's a shopping bag full of money.
Do you want to see a draft? No, draft. What script? Just do it. Just set the camera up, start talking, and we'll go to the next.
See, we just filmed this scene.
Just get lots of coverage.
Yeah. Now they'd just be made on their phones.
Yeah, those movies go absolutely nowhere. There's no plot to speak of.
And yet I was like mesmerized. Well, okay, I was 8 and I thought they were cool at the time, but I thought they were funny too, but I realized that just like swearing was funny to me as a kid.
Right. And it was kind of raunchy and
yeah.
But yeah, I think he's the best thing in Phantom of the Paradise, and his scenes are just brilliant, and just all of it. It's just a weird concoction, and I've turned a couple of people onto it, and then a lot that I've tried, and they've kind of went, I don't quite get it, and that's okay because it's
okay. You can cut them right out of your life.
Yeah, I never spoke to them again, but it is a strange brew, and that's part of why we love it.
It's got some damn catchy music, and I don't know how.
Now
it has never been turned into a. I know it's been tried to turn into a musical a bunch of times.
Oh, it absolutely should have been. Yeah, it should have been. Now, was the character in that Buck Rogers episode that was kind of like a Magnificent Seven, but instead it was like a
plot to kill a city, and
fairly average 4 or whatever it was instead of Magnificent, like a fairly.
And that was that actor with the he's a 6'7" guy.
Yeah.
I think
a lot. He showed up as a heavy on Rockford a lot.
He was on I think at least 3 different episodes of Buck Rogers.
Yeah. But that wasn't. He had the Phantom kind of mask, but he wasn't. But he was.
No, I think he was supposed to be a mutant.
A mutant, but didn't he have like sort of really have a heart of gold at the end, and he was sort of misunderstood?
He saved the day.
Right. So he's got a little bit of a Phantom trope then. A little.
Oh yeah, I get where you're going with that. I don't. Yeah, you definitely. Boy, I guess you'd have to. He's not a Phantom, but yeah, I get what you're saying. His name was Anthony James, by the way, and
yeah,
I think he recently passed away, sadly.
Oh really? He's been still going. Oh wow.
Yeah.
But what's the next like
There's a movie called Phantom of the Ritz, and I remember seeing this at like Blockbusters and stuff. And
Phantom of the Ritz, film me. Yeah. What's the?
I've never seen the film. It's like a man buys an abandoned movie theaters, puts on 50s type rock shows, then starts being killed in a. People start being killed, and there's the only name I remember or recognize in this is Deborah Van Valkenburg.
Oh, from
Warriors.
Or the War, yeah, Too Close to Comfort. She was in Too Close to Comfort. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only name that jumps out at me. Although she was very attractive. Yes.
Overbite.
Peter Bergman's in it as well. From okay, this is definitely a joke or a bit of a comedy then, because it's Peter Bergman from the Firesign Theater. And,
okay, so it's a Phantom of the Ritz.
I think it might be a bit of a horror comedy. I've not seen it, but it's definitely definitely inspired by Gaston Leroux's book. And
now this is the 80s.
Yes, that's 88. Okay,
so when was the musical?
The musical, I don't know 80s? When it was definitely the 80s.
After Cats, because Cats was like 82.
Oh yeah, I want to say like 86 or 87. Phantom started, and then that
huge.
It was huge, and that seemed to inspire some films. The first one I remember, the one that really kind of, again, it's a combination of Faust and Phantom of the Opera, but it was the Robert Englund version from 1989.
Oh, I saw that. I remember that.
Yeah. And they make they're trying to create yet another like horror franchise for England.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he's a real monster in that one. He stitches people's faces onto his own, and yeah, he's
Remember that?
he's a bigger monster in that one.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
I saw the rental. I for sure saw that.
I saw it in rental. It's pretty gory, and I think there's time travel involved in it, or at least reincarnation, that sort of thing. But yeah, I have not revisited that. It felt more like it was a slasher film than like it was trying to kind of sell it that way, and it didn't work for me.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I just recall it being a thing that you'd see like in the back of Cine Fantastique that was like, oh, Robert Englund, his next thing after Freddy or whatever, and he would get more. Wasn't there one called The Mangler too? Was that Wes Craven or somebody that did The Mangler?
The Mangler. Yeah, I've never seen that. Is it like a killer washing machine or something?
Something like that, but it's Robert Englund again. I think it's Robert Englund.
Yeah.
I'm wrong.
Yeah, I just started reading the review for that as a Staples employee.
And then they did didn't they do a live action of the Phantom musical?
Yeah, I'm trying to figure that out. I think the next one that really came out that would also be a VHS memory is Phantom of the Mall. Do you remember that one?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I do. I do remember this.
I've seen this. It's been a long time.
I couldn't tell you who's in it, but I've seen it.
Yeah, Pauly Shore.
Okay, yeah.
And Ken
probably why I'm
Foree,
blanking it out.
who's been in many malls.
Ken Foree's he's a mall expert.
And then Morgan Fairchild is a pretty good name in that.
Maybe I haven't seen this.
No, and you know who's the mall owner? He is that Dos Equis guy. The most interesting man in the world.
He's in it as the owner of the mall?
Yeah. He's in like a fantastic journey as well. He got around. The movie sucks.
I can't imagine with that pedigree how it could go wrong.
Yeah, no, it's I've seen it a couple of times, just out of boredom. It's fine in terms of if you just want to watch what would be sent to video directly in 1989.
Right.
You probably could. I don't know if you could have seen this.
Was there a TV? Wasn't there a TV? Like a mini series or something. I feel like
I'm just going through films right now because I can't keep there's a movie from 1991 that doesn't even have a Wikipedia entry.
Which one is that?
It's just called Phantom of the Opera 1991. I'm just gonna kind of Google that because it's most like it's a TV movie.
See?
But 1991, oh god, even the little box on the IMDb is definitely we're cashing in on the musical.
Who
was
it?
Elizabeth Walsh, Beth McVeigh, and David Staller.
All of whom would be household names after that TV movie aired.
Nobody has a picture on IMDb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember seeing maybe a commercial, but I was thinking there was maybe a mini series too or something. But
it probably is. I'm going to try and go through different adaptations. The Chipmunks did a Phantom of the Rock opera that I hope you've seen.
It's the one Chipmunk adventure that I've been meaning to get to that it just I don't know what's kept me. My list of movies, because that was a time in the 80s, the late 80s, early 90s, they would do these literary kind of, they'd try to do more gothic stuff. Like they did in 88 or 89, I think they did a Jack the Ripper miniseries with Michael Caine, and then he did
they did that Wonderful Dracula.
They did Invisible Man with Michael Caine, and then there was
I was thinking of more recent times.
No, this is like late 80s, maybe early 90s. They the CBS would do these like 2-night things of this kind of mini sort of a 2-part thing. That's a little more macabre, and monsterish. And I for some reason I think that I thought there was a Phantom of the Opera or Phantom of the something.
I don't know. Argento did one in '98 that has Julian Sands, the sadly departed Julian Sands.
Oh, maybe that might be a video box I've seen.
Yeah, I have not seen it. I don't think that's gonna be my thing. Disney Channel did a film called Phantom of the Megaplex that don't care.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, here's the thing I wanted to look up. I swore there was another film adaptation in the late '80s, but I don't know if it ever came out. There was a film adaptation announced of Phantom of the Opera in the late '80s, but I've never seen it. But Joel Schumacher did do the adaptation of the musical, and that happened.
With the woman who was in the woman who ended up in the Shameless TV series. I can't think of her name.
Emily Rossum.
Emily Rossum.
Oh, yeah.
The guy was what's his butt? British actor, I think.
Gerard Butler. Yeah.
Oh, that was Gerard Butler.
Yeah.
That's right.
Who also played Dracula.
Yeah,
Dracula
I was thinking
2000.
No, I was thinking of the guy whose name I always forget, but he was meant to play V in
yeah, now I can't remember his name.
But he got replaced. But no, so it was Gerard Butler.
And Patrick Wilson is the Raoul, I believe, of the story.
I gotta say, I like Patrick Wilson. He's one of those guys that
you could set your watch to Patrick Wilson.
You really could. No matter what he does, no matter how decent or meh or great the movie.
No, he's great.
He is just solid.
I think he really won me with his Night Owl.
Oh my God!
He's really that's not a subtle film, but he did a great job. His Dryberg was really great.
He did a movie with Joe Carnahan, who did Smoking Aces and the A-Team remake or the movie that came out and things like that. But he did a movie called Stretch, where Patrick Wilson is playing a limo driver who's just caught his girlfriend or wife messing around, and now he's trying to get his life back on track, kind of thing. And it's anarchic and crazy. Maybe like 7-8 years ago, and it's a lower budget kind of thing, but it's just great. Bunch of great faces in there. Ed what's his name from the Hangover movies is in it, and
Ed Helms.
Yeah, and Chris Pine is in it, and faces like that, and Pat, it just kind of lives and breathes on Patrick Wilson's performance in it. It's great. It's a fun.
Yeah, I will have to check that out because I find his name is a something that's like, oh, that's all right,
Yeah.
I wanted to talk about television, and while you were talking, I forgot about something that I really like, and that is the Phantom of Hollywood.
The Phantom of Hollywood.
Yeah, it stars Jack Cassidy, who I think is Sean Cassidy and possibly Parker Stevenson's dad.
The guy, Jack Cassidy. Oh yeah, Jack Cassidy. Wait, you're going back? Are you up to
74? Yeah, I went to.
You're back in the. Okay, sorry.
I flipped to television. I flipped to television.
He was great on Columbo. He was always.
Yeah, no, I think we're both going to get some answers in the TV movie version because we've both been talking about stuff, and now this thing had a section for TV movies. I love the Phantom of Hollywood. I used to have it taped.
So this is 74 TV
74 movie? TV movie. It takes place on the MGM backlot where they're demolishing it. And so this is like an injured actor who lives on the backlot. He's killing people. He's dressed as like a medieval executioner. And I believe Jack Cassidy plays two parts. I can't remember if that's true or not anymore.
Well, that sounds right up Jack Cassidy's.
Yeah. No, I am right. He plays two characters.
He's as camp as Christmas.
No, but this is a really well done film, and it's got Jackie Coogan in it. It's very much a kind of a love letter to old Hollywood.
Okay.
And as TV movies go, this is a damn fine film.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
I'm a big fan of it, and I love, you and I both love well-made early 70s TV movies.
100%.
This one is one of them.
When do we get to talk about Phantoms, the Dean L. Kuntz book that had Ben Affleck in it, the movie Phantoms.
I think when we do our Kevin Smith episode, because they seem thrilled about that. I've never ever seen anything to do with it, so
I've never seen it. I've only seen the trailer.
I've never read a Dean R. Kuntz book. I don't know anything about it. Oh yeah, the other people, like there's a lot of, like, Jackie Coogan's in this, Elijah Cook Jr. There's some real Broderick Crawford must have been in the morning, and
Broderick Crawford.
Yeah, 10-4. And it's one of those things that's like, it's a wonderful little snapshot of 1974. And it's just that one I would recommend people watch. The next one is a 1983 television version, you're right, of the Phantom of the Opera. It was called The Phantom of Budapest. And it starred Maximilian Schell and James Seymour and Michael York. Ooh, gosh. Black Hole and Logan's Run representing, yo.
Phantom of what?
Phantom of Budapest. But it was called Phantom of the Opera, I think, in some markets.
That would be the kind of thing that I would have come across.
TV miniseries. Yeah. I have not seen this. I think I've seen the video box for it. The Phantom lives in deep vaults with a cruelly disfigured face, gives voice lessons to a young singer who looks very similar to his deceased wife. Not faithful to the book, especially because it's moved to Budapest. That seems like a big change.
I don't think I saw that.
Yeah, I kind of think I want to now. It's produced for television. It's wow.
It doesn't look like is it Hollywood Phantom or Phantom of Hollywood?
The Phantom of Hollywood is the one I'm talking about.
Okay, that's
sorry, I was talking about the 1983 miniseries.
No, I know, but the one you were talking about with Jack Cassidy was called The Phantom of Hollywood.
Yes,
it doesn't look like it's up on YouTube. I thought it would pop up right away.
Dang, I have it on VHS under my stairs.
Ooh, well, we're all coming over.
All right. Now, here's one in 1990, and I think this is the one I remember being announced, and I just never saw it because I thought it was a theatrical thing, and it's a mini series, and it is it stars Charles Dance as the Phantom.
Ooh, that kind of rings a bell.
Yeah, Charles Dance, the Game of Thrones and Last Action Hero. I don't think I've ever seen this one either. Oh, it was produced by Saban. So like the Power Rangers money.
Oh.
And it was an NBC. March of 1990. I was probably out.
I think I would have missed that. I would have missed that.
I was either running a cash register somewhere.
They haven't really gone after that character like in recent memory, right? Like
it's I think that it's crazy how little there have been full-fledged adaptations of the character.
Well, I think the musical did a I think the musical kind of changed the perception of what that story is and turned it into an absolute romance. I think a lot of people start to think of it as a giant romance kind of thing.
You see, my thing for the whole story, I think the story at its best is actually at the end of Phantom of the Paradise, or even at the end of the Hammer film, is the sacrifice the character makes, proving he's not really a monster. And that's probably why it doesn't have the legs of the other monster.
It's a little more. It's a little. They're all kind of tortured and
they're
sad.
tortured souls who, like, when they're dead, you're sad, but also like, well, he's in a better place now. He's not living in a sewer.
Come out of his misery.
There was no life.
But the monster ones, they're a little more. It's a different kind of romance, whereas this is more romance. And I think that's partly why there just hasn't been so much of it.
I want to point out that one of the most like strangest Phantom appearances is have you rewatched the movie Monsters Go Home? No, not Monster Go Home. The TV movie of the Munsters that came out like in 1980. Like I think it was just called Return of the Munsters or something like
Yeah,
that.
it was 77. The one that's in color where his brother. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm thinking of Adam's
That's
Family.
Adam's
Oh
Family.
yeah. The 81. Yeah, well, not. Have I ever seen it or seen it recently?
Seen it. Okay, I imagine you've
No.
seen it. So
Yeah.
I think about 10 years ago, Thanksgiving, I was driving back from my in-laws place, which is 8 hours from here, and I found a DVD of it in a gas station, and I was like, I loved this movie, because I was probably like 10 when it came out, and I put it on for the kids in the car, and they actually did enjoy it. I wanted to jump off a roof.
Okay.
Because it was so bad, but there was a character I completely forgot about. They have the Phantom of the Opera living with them. And it's Bob Cummings. Like he's a very popular voice actor. He did the Commissioner Gordon on the old Batman and the Animated Series. And every time he comes on, he opera sings. So it's just like the most annoying gag ever.
Right, the most obvious ever.
But that movie forgot all the subtlety of the original Monsters. Like it just didn't have that. But yeah, it just that's a Phantom of the Opera parody. There's probably so many more that I'm not even thinking of. Like, we could even talk about Kiss Meets the Phantom of the Park, I guess.
Yeah, not
being
quite the
a Phantom of the Opera story with Kiss.
Yeah.
Yeah,
the guy that lives under the park or in the sewer does the thing, and he's committing the crimes or doing things. Or
did you know there was actually a superhero for a while called Phantom of the Fair that I believe came up for the World's Fair, and then eventually they I think somebody realized, hey, the World's Fair is going to end, and this guy's stories are get a little boring. So they changed him to Phantoman.
This was a TV show or
no? This was like a 1930s comic book.
Oh, a comic book. Oh, you're going that far back. Oh, that far back. Okay.
Yeah, and I guess DC owns him, and I think, as I recall, somebody in the 80s, in the grim and gritty 80s, got a hold of that character, and they, he kind of looked like the Gimp from Pulp Fiction. And I think one of the writers went there, into the obvious territory.
Yeah, the Phantom of the World's Fair.
Yeah, Phantoman. Yeah.
No, don't remember that at all.
Well, no, you weren't alive.
Well, no, but I just never heard of it. I've never.
Oh yeah, no, it's not. It's one of those things that, like, when I was a teenager, I kind of, I became kind of like, I really liked the Phantom of the Opera story, and I got into researching adaptations, and I just remember stumbling on that. And I have actually never read a Phantom of the Fair comic either.
Well, maybe it's time. Maybe this will be the episode, and someone will hear this and go, "Hey, we should reboot is the Phantom of the Opera. We need a new version of." I think the reason that it doesn't that we see the trope of like the guy living under the thing is that with the master control that's manipulating stuff or whatever. I mean, Dr. Fives has a little bit of that.
Totally.
I guess, Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of that gets peppered into stuff.
Well, that's what I mean. I think it's a bit of a John Carter concept in that it gets watered down by other creators.
Yeah. So it is that the Phantom, the Phantom from like the Phantom of the Opera kind of thing, we didn't get much of that as a character just because it just didn't have the legs that the rest of those monsters kind of did.
That was so recognizable.
But the idea of the tortured soul that's doing things, hidden away doing things, we got a lot of that in a lot of shows and a lot of movies. And
I think that's one of the reasons I love Phantom of the Paradise is they really builds Winslow's story. Like he gets fucked over, and it's just one of those things. It's just you feel for him, and that is you want to watch him take his revenge, and I kind of think that's the key to any of these kind of stories, is there has to be love, and there has to be an affection for the Phantom. If he's just a jerk who lives in the basement who bosses people around, it's not quite. It doesn't quite hit the same rungs, you know.
No, it's got to have a little bit of revenge and a little bit of the bad guys get to come up and kind of because it is a tortured soul, like the Dr. Phibes thing is like, I mean that's out of its mind.
Again, yeah, you feel you. There's two things going on with Dr. Phibes. You feel him, and you're also like, Carolyn Monroe is your wife.
Hey, listen, you know what she liked? A man who could make her laugh.
But you just do have like a couple of questions. Like, are you really, really rich? And speaking of Carolyn Monroe, I will be in the same room with her this weekend.
Oh, the restraining order's been lifted?
It's finally been lifted. Yeah, It's been a long 30 years, but
thank God.
Thank God for grandfather clauses.
Stop writing me letters every day. I'm going to put a restraining order on you. I can only send so many photos.
So I'm going to be at the Monster Bash in Pittsburgh this weekend. Yeah, I really like Pittsburgh. It's a cool town. And I'm hoping I'm bringing friends with me, and I'm really excited about the Lincoln Monsters there, and I'm going to meet, I believe, Carolyn Monroe, and I believe the theme is kind of like Bond girls.
Ooh, I bet.
Yeah, let me just I just want to kind of share the guest list with you because I'm trying to be proactive. Yeah, I got it. Okay. So I will be at the Monster Bash in the Marriott Pittsburgh North in Cranberry, Pennsylvania, which is just outside. And we have Carolyn Monroe. Damn it, Martine Beswick, you're 100% right.
Boom! Thank you.
Victoria Vetri and Pauline Pert. And they are all Hammer. So, we've got Monroe's from Dracula, AD 1972. I will. I might get Martine Beswick's as well. Victoria Vetri. I've never, When Dinosaurs Rolled the Earth. Oh, yeah.
And if you can get Martine Beswick, if she's got a picture from Dr. Jekyll and Ms. Hyde.
I would imagine she would. And oh my God, the director of The Deadly Spawn's gonna be there.
That's weird.
That's really weird.
That's weird.
Because I'm still like, I'm not putting it down because it's not bad, but I'm just waiting for the
if you can grab me, I don't know what they charge for autographs these days for that.
I believe it's $150.
Fucking hell, really?
No, I'm kidding. I don't know. But I would like to meet Carolyn Monroe, and I actually did meet her at one of these Monster Bashes, but I was a little too bashful to talk to her. So
you can get some phone numbers too.
Sure, absolutely. I'll get
for me, not for you. You're married, but for me as a friend.
Oh sure, yeah, no, dude, I'm okay with.
All I want is to go out for a drink. I don't need to get involved. Who wants to get involved?
No.
To be able to say I bought a drink from Martine Beswick.
Yeah, the last time Corey got to interview Carolyn for a magazine article about her music career, because she had a pop music career, and that was like really, really cool,
She is just something.
And she's stunning, just still
stunning. Like I hate to sound like this and say this, but literally they don't make that level of stunning. There's beautiful people all the time. Don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, no.
About her, that's just so much of the Hammer stuff in those.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with like they imprinted on us a little bit.
I think there's definitely some of that, but you can put a photo of Carolyn Monroe from 75, 76 in front of somebody today, and it's like hubba.
Oh yeah, no,
without knowing who
very
she is or what she's from or anything. There's just, they have a timeless. And I think it's also because the 70s kind of vibe, like the hair and the styles went out, fluctuated, but I see so much in modern, style and let's say women's hairstyles or, whatever vibe that's very 70s. They have
very
a
natural
kind of quality. Yeah.
There's just some things that just don't go away. I absolutely agree. I'm going
so
to
glad
get. I had a long conversation with myself because I'm an important man, and I'm going to get a photo of her from at the Earth's core.
Well, I would expect nothing less.
Yeah.
I mean, please.
That is my favorite Carolyn Monroe role, and her
there you
film.
Go.
But that was actually a tough call because, she's in Golden Voyage of Sinbad as well.
Oh, is she ever?
Yeah. And that is a happy childhood memory, but it's like Doug McClure, Tom Baker.
Now who's the one in the one? No, wait. So the Carolyn Monroe one is the one with Tom Baker. Or is it the Patrick Troughton one? No, the Patrick Troughton one. The woman in the Patrick Troughton one is, boy, look her up sometime, because that is an interesting family.
Is that Eye of the Tiger?
I think Eye of the Tiger is Patrick Wayne. I'm thinking of the John Philip Law one. I think is the one that had.
No, Golden Voyage is John Philip Law. It didn't have Patrick Troughton in it. I thought it was Eye of the Tiger. Patrick Wayne was at one of the last Monster.
But Patrick Troughton was in the John Philip. No, Patrick Troughton was in the Patrick Wayne one.
I think so. I'm just gonna look it up. Yeah,
because she was. Okay. So Patrick Wayne, and then she's the daughter of Troughton. I think he's blind or something.
Yeah.
Woman who's look. I don't know her name, but look her up sometime, because that is a wacky family. The history of where she came from and where she went, and she's somebody's daughter. Well, I mean, everybody's somebody's daughter, but she's somebody.
Yeah, she's Tyrone Power's daughter.
Yes, she's Tyrone Power's daughter. I think she got into modeling very young, and then a few movies, and then just kind of whoosh, she's gone. But it's an interesting. I think her and her sister or something. That sounded filthy.
Tyrone Power is definitely not a birth name.
Tyrone Power?
Is it?
Is it a what? Is it a what?
Oh, he was Power. I thought Power was a made-up name.
No, his name was Tyrone Power. That was his last.
He was Irish, and it's like, oh, yeah. Okay.
His son. Do you remember Cocoon? Your favorite '80s film?
Yeah. Yeah, it's my favorite 80s film.
Well, the
next to Madame Suzatski.
The team that come from, spoiler, another planet. Brian Dennehy. The woman is Tawny Welch.
I knew that. Welch. Yeah.
Okay, and then the dude with her, the young dude, that is like Tyrone Power Jr.
Oh.
And he's a spitting image of Tyrone Power, that kid.
Wow.
And I don't think he ever did anything else. But I think everybody on that crew.
Wasn't a lot of demand for Tyrone Power, I guess.
Well, he's a good-looking guy, but I don't think he ever did anything else. The son, but on that, I think that there's a third dude, and he's somebody's son too. For some reason, they cast all people that were offspring of famous people or something in that Cocoon crew. I don't know why, but
Nepo baby.
Total Nepo Cocoon babies.
Nepo Cocoon, which is coming to CBS this Saturday morning.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, well, there you go. There's your Phantom. There's your part 2 of Halloween. Who knows? Maybe the weekend will say, fuck it, we're going to do another October one. It's November, but we're going to do it. You never know. Could happen.
Except I'm in Pittsburgh.
That's how much material we have sitting around.
Oh, no, I got tons of ideas. But unfortunately, somebody put us up to another pilot challenge for November.
Oh, so to watch a pilot and do commentary?
Yeah. Well, the dueling pilots we do, where we pick terrible pilots. And
I pick one, you pick one.
Yeah. And I'm down. I want to do more of that.
What was the one I picked for you? Was it the Jerry Anderson one?
It was Space Precinct. Yeah.
Space Precinct.
That music's still in my head.
Let's be honest. Nothing is going to top Space Precinct.
That Micro Cop show I had looked good compared to that, and it was not. So you will feel my steel.
Okay, so I'll start digging around now.
Yeah. I'm gonna go.
All right, good
stuff.
I'm gonna
see the oeuvre of McLean Stevenson
and Donna Pescow.
Well, no, I want this to be painful. I still.
So there you go. Well, happy Halloweeny, everybody.
Happy Halloween. Please don't knock on my door. The dog barks. You can just
Halloween all year round, really, where we're concerned. But you know, we try to get as much in as we can before the actual holiday.
This just feels like the time, you know. And yeah, I will be watching horror movies on the 1st for sure.
Yeah, got to keep it going.
Mm-hmm.
Horror kids all year round.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Happy Halloween.
Happy Halloween.
Cheers.